Joy News has intercepted a letter supposed to have been signed by Kwabena Agyapong resigning from the New Patriotic Party as General Secretary. In that letter, and I read parts of it, the past few days have been very tumultuous, and I have taken some time to think about my political career and the fortunes of the New Patriotic Party, a party I have dedicated my life to serving. My campaign to be General Secretary of this great party was built on togetherness and selfless service to the party. I sought to encourage the spirit of volunteerism, which was very much alive during my days as a young patriot. Many will recall my campaign resulted to pertinent slogans such as "Think Victory, Think Kwabena, and Together We Shall Rise." The two-page letter is on a letterhead, official letterhead from the New Patriotic Party head office, but we are unable to independently confirm whether indeed this comes from Kwabena Agyapong himself. We're making frantic efforts to get to party officials to confirm this resignation letter signed by Kwabena Agyapong, signed as former General Secretary. Kwabena Agyapong is resigning from the New Patriotic Party as General Secretary. This comes on the back of concerns that have risen as a result of the acid attack and death of his regional, Upper East Regional Secretary. Now, tonight, the opposition New Patriotic Party still continues to be in the news, confronted by what analysts say is a deep internal crisis. So far, a total of 7 regions with a unanimous voice have called for Chairman Paul Afoko and General Secretary Kwabena Agyapong to step aside. The Upper East region is the latest. But the question is, step aside for who? And in the event that the party succeed in removing these two key Alan Tremantin allies, what happens to the party? Will it get better and stronger, or will it crumble and with it fizzle out the presidential ambitions of Nana Akufo-Addo? This is today's big story with me, Stephen Enti. Right, my name is Stephen Enti. If you've just joined us, the breaking news coming in is that Joy News has intercepted a letter, resignation letter, supposed to have been signed by Kwabena Agyapong resigning from the party. I read the first paragraph of the resignation letter to you, and we're making frantic efforts to confirm whether indeed this letter comes from Kwabena Agyapong himself, who is resigning from the party. We'll be jumping onto that when we have these officials to discuss this further. But now the New Patriotic Party, as you can tell by now, has been hard hit by the tragic acid attack on its Upper East Regional Chairman, leading to his death. And following from that, a strong dissenting position is emerging from all the regions, calling for the heads of Afoko and Agyapong. But what benefit would kicking these two gentlemen bring? There are those who say the ongoing process at the region seeking to impeach Afoko and Agyapong is clearly against the party's constitution. Well, the Greater Accra Regional Chairman, Ishmael Ashite, is warning that if the National Executive Committee fails to impeach Afoko and Agyapong, they will resort to other legal means. Let's hear Afoko, and then let's hear Ishmael Ashite, I beg your pardon, and we'll continue.
Yes, the party have never known peace since they took office. We've been trying to talk to them, but they've been doing things that make them always on one side against their colleagues. Whilst we below, we are waiting for them to bring out strategies, plans for us to execute the 2016 agenda. They will always be quarreling among themselves at that top. When we went to Boriga, we decided that this thing should end, where there is fighting at the national level, that should end. And to do that, we agreed that the General Secretary and then the National Chairman should step aside and allow us to rebuild the party, whilst the National Council, the National Executive Committee, and then the Council of Elders should be talking to them to change their attitude.
advising yourself, if this petition you are presenting is only a petition, what if they refuse to take any action on this petition?
Yes, that is when we will advise ourselves. We have got, you were asking me whether they are constitutional or legal. We have a constitution that tells us how to deal with that issue. So when we are pleading with them and they will not listen to our plea, then we have to invoke those ones and then work with them.
So as we speak now, who is in charge of the party? Who exactly is in charge of the MPP now?
Why would they be missing by this time? I mean, if we have lost a regional chairman, why wouldn't you be at the funeral? These are hard times for the party. Me, I call it a crisis situation, and it's better we work on it. We are asking them to step aside. When they do, then the second vice chairman will take the chair, and then we see whether we can rebuild the party at that level. If he's also not able to do it and he behaves like them, we'll also go after him. The fact is that we are tired of their quarreling at the top. We are seriously tired of that.
What are the timelines? What duration have you given them to respond to this petition for you?
Well, we have not given any timelines. What we are trying to say that we want to be as flexible as possible. They must also understand us. I mean, it is in their interest and the interest of the party for them to stand aside for now. We will only activate those constitutional aspects of our constitution, as you are saying, only when we see that they are determined to drive all of us into ditch. That is the time that we activate those legal aspects of our constitution.
So we will be doing some analysis on the constitutionality or otherwise of the processes that have begun in the regions to impeach Afoko and Kwabena Agyapong. Now, I must say that we have intercepted, Joe News has intercepted a resignation letter supposed to have been signed by Kwabena Agyapong, resigning from the party. In portions of the letter, it reads that it is extremely heartbreaking and deterring to learn that my own colleagues take to the media to belittle the General Secretary of their own party. And by this statement, I hereby inform the party and the general public that I have resigned as General Secretary of the party. This morning, I sent my formal resignation to the National Council of the party. I, however, remain committed to serving the party in any individual capacity. And I must say that we just heard on Joy FM that this letter, which we intercepted a while ago, does not come from Kwabena Agyapong. So Kwabena Agyapong says it does not come from him, so we'll try and reach him later on in the discussion. Let's try and move on with the other parts of our discussions. So we're joined on the line now by Dr. Evans Agri Dako. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us. Right, so Agri Dako is not on the line, but we're trying to examine the constitutionality or otherwise of the processes that have started in the regions to impeach Afoko and Agyapong. Earlier, we spoke to Joy News' news editor, Evans Mentor, who is in charge of the political desk. He spoke to us on the pulse. Let's watch that interview and then we'll continue.
My conclusion after listening what has happened over the last 24 hours is maybe what is happening, people first haven't read the constitution. You know, there's some constitutional gap there. The people haven't really averted their minds to it, or they simply want to appeal to them. The word I'm choosing to use, appeal to them to voluntarily step aside. If they don't, then they now trigger the proper constitutional process to remove them.
This is fine, isn't it? Because you don't want to go the forceful way.
Absolutely.
And yesterday you did some analysis about the personalities of these two people. They're not people who are willing to just step down easily. Yeah. They have support. And so these are probably things that the people who are petitioning have taken into consideration.
I agree. I think it's the best approach. The best approach is not to start litigating, because that's what constitutions and laws allows you to do. The best approach is to, as I said yesterday, the best is for the two to voluntarily say we are walking. So the best approach is what they're doing. It's to say, please, you step aside because there are issues of unity, etc. If they can get the National Council to meet, and National Council say we've had responses from 9-10 regions. And
this is what they're saying.
Exactly. And they present it to the two people and they say, listen, your own people across all the regions say, please step aside. So please step aside. And the guys will have to go and consider and say, okay, we think we can't work with all of them, and so we will step aside. Okay, that is what must happen. Okay. If that happens, that's fantastic for the people.
But Evans, whilst we wait for, while you're doubting that this will happen, we'll have to wait and see. But whilst we wait and see, does the NPP has a luxury of time? I mean, we have just next year.
They don't. That's why I'm surprised that.
And they have to go through an emergency Congress.
You know, that's true. And they find themselves, those who want them out, find themselves in the rock and hard place. The point you make, if we go the constitutional way, we are litigating. This is going to drag. This is going to, people are going to say, oh, you can't even solve this small problem without resorting to the, your constitution or, doing litigation. Why don't
Right, so let's get on to the telephone lines now, and I do hope we have Dr. Evans Agri Dako on the line now. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother.
Right, so for me, it looks like the processes that have started in the region. Yeah, can you hear me, sir?
Hello?
Can you hear me, sir?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, Dr. Dako. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear now.
Great. I was asking you that it looks to me that the processes that have started in the regions to impeach Afoko and Ejapon appears to be following the party's constitutional process. The key question now is, what happens if the National Executive Committee succeeds in impeaching Afoko and Ejapon, who are seen as two key allies of Alang Chirmanting?
Right. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think that the party will have to exercise a lot of caution. We have a very important opposition party, such as an MPP. We have experienced what Samuel P. Huntington referred to as a 2-10-over test in 2000-2008. Making it possible for us to be considered as one of the critical democracies that are even consolidated. So MPP has played a critical role, especially from 1993 down to, as we speak now. So, but the happenings within the MPP indicate that, well, it's also a party in transition, as it were. And the transition, usually things are very fast, things are moving like, things are very fluid. And so we expect that, the critical actors in the party will exercise a lot of maturity, be guided by historical, example.
Right, Dr. Dako, let me pause you. You sound to be very charitable. I mean, saying that this is a party in transition, but these internal power struggles, they are able to break the party and fizzle out the presidential ambitions of Nana Addo, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but what we're saying is that can you take that again, please?
I'm saying that you are being charitable. I mean, you're saying that these issues that are happening in the MPP are only because it is the party in transition. But I'm asking whether you do not think that these internal power struggles are able, one, to break the party, and two, fizzle out the ambitions of Nana Akufo-Addo.
Well, that is if they are unable to resolve the differences as they exist today, then they will fester and further deepen the cleavages that exist within the party. Then, of course, the danger will be that their attempt to capture political power again next year will just be a pipe dream, as it were. But if you look at the processes that have begun, I would say that they seem to be pressing the panic button, and they will engage in what I call a comedy of errors. You see, you also will want to give these individuals the opportunity to even the party must be interested in and closing their ranks. Certain individuals, even in a household, individuals who belong to different camps. There are times that you have some of the kids belonging to the father's camp, some very close to the mother, and so on. But it is up to the leadership of that household to harmonize the objectives that they seek to protect within the family, and then they forge ahead as a united front. So when you are dealing with a party with several millions of people, over 5 million people voted for the NPP in the last election, it's not a small party. It's a very big party with all kinds of interests. But it is also important for us to underscore there's not everybody who will be pursuing the party's interest. That is a fact. Some people will be pursuing other interests other than the interests that the party stands for. So yes, you are right that if they are unable to resolve the issue, it is likely to shatter the ambitions of Nana Addo, ever becoming the president of this country.
So yes. it means that if they are able to resolve the matter, then it's all well and good for 2016.
No, well, I've indicated on a platform, I think on your own platform, that if the parties have two objectives, the opposition parties have two major objectives. One is to conduct themselves such that the party will become a credible alternative. You understand? That's
yes.
one. The second issue is that they must, in the process, help in the governance system. You understand? It's a public institution, and that is why we find it feasible to comment on their development. If it's a personal matter which has no bearing on the public, we may leave it to some individuals to comment on them. But this is what we teach. And as political parties, they are ubiquitous in our democracy. And what they do affects you and I. So it is important that they close their ranks. Closing their ranks will mean that they can, vigorously engage the politics of the state, influence decision-making processes, help in the governance architecture. If we have a lot of reforms that are ongoing, they can debate public policies and programs, and then in the process improve the quality of public discourse. That is critical for any democracy. Yes.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that if they are unable to put these internal wranglings behind them and fashion out a united front, they will be disappointing themselves first and foremost, and they will also be disappointing Ghanaians who are also looking for alternatives that exist. And even the ruling government knows that there's a credible alternative in waiting, they set up and then be able to fix problems that confront us on a daily basis. So it is even in the interest of the ruling party that we have a viable opposition able to contest and able to compete effectively within the rules of the game, and then at the end of the day improving the quality of public policies and programs in the state. Yes.
Right now, Afoko and Ajiman have been seen, Kwabena Agyapong have been seen as key Alanchimanting allies. I mean, it's clear that they fought against all the odds to win their positions, despite the strong opposition they faced from the Nana Addo side. What happens to their core support base across the country if they are impeached or pushed out of the party?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that if they engage in this comedy of errors and eventually it leads to impeachment, and I don't think that they will get there, I think that cool heads must prevail. The former president and all those people who claim that they have the party in mind and they hold the party in high esteem must be interested in how best they can nurture the party in this trying moment. These are trying moments, and I would want to see the party considering this as a passing storm. You understand? A passing storm. Or they should consider it as a bad dream, and they wake up to some realization that after all it was just a bad dream.
But do Afoko and Agyapong still command that support that make them very relevant in the party, especially?
No, the people voted for them. People really voted for them. If you look at the number of people, of course, if you look at the people who voted, they have constituencies. They have some critical support base. But you see, in politics, it depends on who is fronting what. You understand? If those people who perhaps are arguing that these people and the continued presence of these critical individuals will be inimical to the party, it is possible that they can sway, they can hold sway, and that perhaps will help them tilt the support in favor of maybe the winning faction. But you see, my brother, factions will exist anywhere. We have factions in the church, factions in the family, we have factions in the school, factions in organizations. But what is critical is that how do you, reconfigure this faction or these factions such that they don't become or they don't behave like we're in the bowels of the state. That then will be inimical to the continued existence of that particular party. But as that party,
right, Dr. Dako,
yes.
Dr. Dako. Right. Dr. Dako, I have to hold you briefly. We're getting Kwabena Agyapong on the telephone line to respond to Hook's letter we received, supposed to have been his resignation letter, which we intercepted. Mr. Agyapong is joining us on the telephone line now. Mr. Agyapong, good evening and thanks for your time.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Agyapong. Right, we're still trying to get Mr. Kwabena Agyapong onto the telephone lines to respond to this resignation letter which we intercepted, Joy News intercepted. Mr. Agyapong, good evening. Good evening, Kwabena Agyapong. Right, I think we're having technical challenges reaching Mr. Agyapong. He's on the line though, but I think that he's not hearing me. So, Dr. Agridako, if you're still on the line, a while ago we intercepted a letter which is supposed to be a resignation letter signed by Kwabena Agyapong. In fact, it's a detailed 2-page letter in which it lists the incidents, things that have happened over the past few weeks and his decision to resign. Right, Kwabena Agyapong, I'm told, is back on the line. Mr. Agyapong, good evening.
Mr. Agyapong is not on the line. He's on the line to...
Hello. Right, we apologize for the interruption there from the other telephone lines. This is today's big story. If you've just joined us, we are discussing critical issues of the constitutionality or otherwise of the processes that have begun to impeach Paul Afoko and Kwabena Agyapong, the two top leaders of the New Patriotic Party. And a while ago we intercepted a letter supposed to have been signed by Kwabena Agyapong resigning from the party, but we do have confirmation from Kwabena Agyapong himself that this letter did not come from him. We're trying to get onto the telephone lines to critique why such a letter could be in circulation, where it could possibly come from, and what his comment on this is really, and calls for his resignation, what he has to say about that. We'll take a snap break and we'll be right back. Do stay. Right, welcome back to today's big story. We've been looking at several issues tonight. The opposition New Patriotic Party has been in the news, and it's confronted with what analysts will say is a big internal crisis. So far, we've had 7 regions who have made a unanimous call to have the chairman, Paul Afoko, and General Secretary Kwabena Agyapong step aside. The Upper East region is the latest actually to join the debate. The key questions we have been asking is whether indeed they should step aside, and who should they step aside for if the party decides to remove these gentlemen who are seen as key Alan Chimanting allies. What happens to the party? Will it get better? And we heard the political scientist Dr. Agridako saying that if the party is able to put its acts together and fix the problems that are facing it, it could come back strong for the 2016 elections. But if it's unable to, and if it goes ahead to remove these 2 top elected party officials, then there could be some problems and disappointments for the party. We also a while ago intercepted a letter which is supposed to have been signed by Kwabena Agyapong resigning from the MPP as General Secretary of the party, but we have had confirmation from Kwabena Agyapong himself that he did not sign that letter or write it. So we've been trying to reach him so that we can get some analysis on this before we wrap, but we are unable to get him. And earlier we planned to have Dr. Alidu Seidu join us for the discussion, but we're still not getting through to Dr. Alidu Seidu. Let's go on the lines now and get to Kwabena Agyapong. Mr. Agyapong, good evening, and thanks for your time.
Good evening.
Now, it's surprising that we had this detailed 2-page letter supposed to have come from you resigning from the party as General Secretary. And now you have confirmed to us that it doesn't come from you. Where could it be coming from?
Well, I'm totally shocked that
people will go to this level to attempt to remove me from office. Our party, the NPP, has been the bastion of democracy. We respect rules and regulations and the laws of our land. Our party is guided by our constitution. And if some people are interested in removing me, I think the least they can do is to go through our constitutional procedures for the removal of office. Till they do that, I remain the duly elected General Secretary of our party. I know there are moves by certain forces in the party to unseat me. I remain in office. And by the grace of the Almighty God, I believe I'll see through this challenge. The majority of the people who voted me into office have confidence in me. The vilification of my persona and the very low attempt to even hang a murder around my neck in order to be able to dispense of me won't work.
Right, so Mr. Japong.
I am a fighter.
You're a fighter.
And I'll fight this injustice. I am the duly elected General Secretary of our party, and I want to correct this impression. I have not resigned. I've not offered any letter. I've been at home all day, just taking it easy.
And you have also
I'll continue to do my work.
You have also not considered resigning?
No, I haven't considered at all.
Even in the face of the numerous petitions.
I went through a lot of heat and sweat and hard work, and I know the calls that I receive from these constituencies, they are coming in their hundreds. People calling me totally abhorred with this attempt to go through the back door to remove me. It will not happen.
But would you call the processes that have started in the regions as backdoor? I mean, here we have 7 regions already who have unanimously called for you and Afoko to step aside.
I think perhaps you should go through our constitution and then look at the processes for the removal of officers. What happened over the last weekend is neither here nor there. It's null and void. It's neither an extraordinary congress or it's neither a regional conference. But there are ways of organizing a regional conference. There are limitations on time. There are limitations on agenda. And so I just wanted to correct this.
But are you aware also of the collection of various signatures of top officials of your party seeking to impeach you?
I've said to you, there are processes in our party. If you seek to impeach or remove me, just go through the right process, and then we'll meet.
But are you not worried, Mr. Japong, that your continuous
Thank you very much. I accepted to do this interview to correct the erroneous impression.
That's fine,
it was not my view to have an interview with you.
That's fine, Mr. Japong. Thanks for your time. Yes, and thanks for joining us on today's big story. So that was Mr. Japong there saying that he didn't, in fact, sign or write the letter which purports to have come from him resigning from the party, and he's not considering resignation anyway. Whilst the processes are underway to impeach him, he's questioning the constitutional basis of these processes. My name is Stephen Anti, and we'll be right back with an interactive segment. Do stay.